Welcome to another exciting edition of the Million Dollar Peddlers. I'm Papergoy.
And I'm Mr. Magazine.
To anybody who's just stumbled across the channel, I'm Papergoy. I've got a day job, work out of my house, so give you the perspective from the small seller, even though I do have 40,000 items listed online, but I've been doing it for over 20 years.
I'm Mr. Magazine, 500,000 items, a big warehouse, 15 employees, and some items get a little pricey.
So today we actually have a subscriber-inspired video. They sent me an email suggesting we talk about when you go over your listings, all the various things. What ends up happening is you kind of list on autopilot. You've got the various things set up. Your shipping is set up the way your shipping is set up. Obviously the PayPal address is in there. If you're managed payments, that's set up.
Yeah.
Everything is set up. Back in the old days, if you had sales tax, that was there. And you just kind of assume it's all there and it's all right. And then all of a sudden, it's not. And a box gets checked or unchecked or something or other happens. And you don't even know about it until all of a sudden there's a problem. Yep. And I know you've got a classic example of this happening.
Yeah, years ago they had these, not as many boxes they do now, but you could pay for more exposure. So if you wanted to be featured, bold listings was another one.
Oh yeah, there was one. Weren't you featured on the homepage? Rotating homepage.
There's features in the category, and then it would say it was $20 per listing. So if you had something worth $1,000, it would justify that. Or homepage featured, which was $100. So my sister years ago was listing
and just to explain what that was back in the day, it wasn't that you were always featured on the homepage. It was that anybody who wanted to be featured on the homepage would pay $100, and it would rotate out. So when you went on eBay, this time I would see so-and-so's listing, and then the time after, there's 2 or 3 listings, the time after I would see somebody else's listing. So you're not even sure how often you're being featured, but you're paying $100 to get featured somewhere.
So this was going, I want to say 15 years ago, and my sister was listing, and for whatever reason, she must have checked it by mistake. And, 10, 20 minutes go by, and I'm looking at my eBay fees, because I was listing back in the day.
Wow, I'm selling a lot of stuff.
And I'm like, why do I owe so much money? Usually say at that point in time it should be $500. Well, it was like $2,500. I don't know what's going on, and were you with me at the time? And we had to figure it out, but I had to stop her dead in her tracks, and I was not very calm when I saw this, because I don't know if eBay's really gonna take it back, credit me back. So, but after I got steamed and scolded her, she fixed it and never did it again, and eBay did credit us whatever the $2,000 was.
Because you noticed it immediately.
Yeah, it was like 20 listings that she just kept. She had no clue, and she didn't pay attention to the dollar amount at the end of the listing.
So, are you trying to say that it wouldn't be wise to list a $12 record and pay $100 to showcase it?
No, I would say no. Bad business.
Really?
Definitely.
Wouldn't we call that a lost leader?
Lost something. Lost wallet.
And a lot of times, and I've had people comment before, they end up with this problem because of one box that ends up getting checked regularly on eBay, and that's the checkbox underneath the photos, where you can have your picture large. Mm-hmm. And in some categories, that's free. And in some categories, it costs you 35 cents. And you may not notice, but you have it checked because you're in a category. I think magazines, it's free. So what that means is if somebody, when your item's listed and they put their mouse over it, it makes the large picture come out.
Right.
For some reason, eBay does not do that in every single category. Some categories, you have to pay 35 cents in order to have that happen. If you pay attention as you're listing to your fees, you suddenly see this and you say, hey, wait a minute. Now the fun part is it's 35 cents when it's at an auction, but some categories it's $1, if I remember right, when it's in a store.
Oh, wow.
So here you are paying $1 a month for something that you don't know you're paying $1 a month on a $20 listing.
Forever and ever.
Forever and ever, potentially.
Yeah.
And I know Auction Professor, friend of the channel, did do a episode where he did say check your invoice. Now, I don't think it would be very easy for you to check your invoice.
We've seen it before. Can't figure it out.
You end up having to do a download with a CSV file, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I ended up doing it on mine after he did his video, and I ended up finding, I think 4 items or 5 items that I was paying 35 cents on. I was able to track down those 5 items.
That's not too bad.
Not bad at all. And I was able to save $1.75 because I found those items. I unchecked the thing on there, and I've saved $1.75 a month thereafter, assuming they haven't sold. Not a big deal, say $2, 12 months. You know, you're talking $20, something
Right.
like that I was costing myself. So definitely worth checking out. That is the way to do it. Now, for you, it would be unwieldy, but you might be spending $40, $50 a month. I mean,
Right.
who knows on that.
But even when we called up eBay, you know, the phone reps, they can't even make heads or tails of it. So it doesn't even bother. It's a waste of time to even call them for that.
So the reason that this was brought up by the subscriber is because he listed stuff at auction, was completely unaware that he had the best offer for auction checked because he'd never used it before. Well, it defaulted to being checked, and of course, he had a hot item, and all of a sudden, he's getting offers. And he goes, this is up for auction. What's going on? Why am I getting offers? And he did not understand what had happened, and then
Right.
he looked into it a little deeper, and for whatever reason, it defaulted to that.
Crazy.
And I had a similar problem, which I believe that I recounted in a video. When it comes to international shipping, I ship things internationally myself, as you do.
Right, sure.
We do not use the eBay shipping program, the global shipping program. We do
Right.
not use that. Well, all of a sudden, eBay back a year ago defaulted to any item that I did not have international shipping on was now part of the global shipping program. I never okayed this. I never checked any box. I became alerted to this because I had some National Geographic bound volumes.
Again with these things. This is like the third time you guys have heard this story.
Not
Oh,
this
say,
part
say
of
it
it.
again. Oh, okay.
Not this part
Sorry.
of it.
All right, sorry.
I always add on. It's a,
Oh, okay.
large
My bad.
story.
All right.
It's like the trilogy.
Oh, all right. Hopefully it's the final trilogy.
A lot of demand. We'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
So these things, a bound volume, I was selling them in sets of 2. Paid a quarter a piece, if you didn't know.
they know that.
Okay. So they weigh, a set of 2 weighs 8 pounds. Well, I offer free shipping on these things. So I listed them at 8-ounce shipping, 8-ounce weight. Doesn't make any difference. I know
Right.
what they weigh.
Yeah.
So I had them for 8 ounces. But because I was not offering the international shipping on them, and eBay suddenly made me offer the global shipping, or decided to offer it on there, somebody bought 2 of them from overseas. It showed up as 1 pound weight for 2 sets. So it was 16 pounds. They were paying based on 1 pound. So obviously I couldn't ship it. I had to cancel it,
Right.
which of course is a mark on my account, which I should probably have called eBay, but I didn't call eBay. But it's a mark on my account for something I wasn't even offering.
Right.
I didn't want to ship that overseas, which is why I did not enable
Yeah.
overseas shipping on it. So that's another thing that you need to watch from time to time. eBay will just all of a sudden put best offers on. eBay will put things of yours into the global shipping program. I had to go online on Google and figure out how to do it, and then muck around in my listings to turn off global shipping on all my
Right.
items because eBay had turned it on.
That's crazy.
The photos is another area. Just every line through, you need to check all the time. Now, definitely check your fees. That's, you know,
Oh,
you
yeah.
notice the $100 on there. That's a big red flag.
Right.
You know, if you know that this should cost you 15 cents to list at auction or 10 cents or whatever, and you see a number that's not that,
Right.
there has to be a reason why.
Yeah.
You know, who knows what it is. If you go to relist into the store after the item doesn't sell at auction, it will tell you what your fees are going to be.
Right.
And if you look at that and you say, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. Why am I paying $8 to list 8 items?
Right. Yep.
Then you got to look a little deeper and you say, oh, because that box is checked and it shouldn't be.
Right.
Have your employee, or you don't use the custom SKU,
No,
because you could use the custom SKU because that's one line below the subtitle.
Okay.
Well, the subtitle can cost $4 in some categories.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
But you could pay for bold, you could pay for subtitle. Well, if all of a sudden, imagine you're not paying attention and you put your custom SKU line in the subtitle line, paying $4 an item.
Jeez.
It could be done.
Right.
So you definitely need to pay attention, but a lot of times you're flying through listings.
Right. Yeah. For sure. But the biggest problem I've had with my employees over the years when it comes to listing is, I don't want to use the word lazy, but they want things easy for them. Meaning, okay, it's Monday morning. Let me, instead of starting from scratch on a listing and filling everything in, they like to go back into a used listing and copy that. And they don't realize some things like maybe the store category, the eBay category is different. Or we had a new employee just make this mistake. He relisted off an old listing that was placed in the eBay store when his we're supposed to be an auction. So now I was getting all these offers on items, very cheap offers on items that could have been worth $20, $30. They were offering $5 because I don't like to put the best offer in because I'm used to it being in the store only. So when I accept an offer, I know it's in the store, I know the price is right, and so forth. So mistakes can be made. I tell them your first listing, if it takes you 5 minutes, double check everything in the listing, and then you can fly through the day and not worry about it. But if you make 1, 2, 5 mistakes in that first listing, you don't catch it, then the whole day is going to be a...
you were going to say
I don't want to know.
show.
Yes, a type of a show. Definitely a show that I don't want to watch.
Which actually brings up another very good point, and I know we used to talk about this all the time. Throughout the years, and we've been on eBay for 20 years plus, whatever it works out to now, we have used throughout the years many different templates. As time changes, you were allowed to say this at one point. You weren't allowed to say this at one point. At one point, you had to say, contact us for international shipping because that was, it was before calculated shipping. It was before. And it doesn't seem to happen now. But a few years ago, it was happening all the time. All of a sudden, some random verbiage from years ago would just show up in listings. And I don't think it was anybody was copying it. I just think it just automatically... And your computer would have this on your listing as default, and my computer would have this, and somebody else's computer would have this. So we'd have 3 different templates going forward that none of us chose. They just appeared out of nowhere because for whatever reason, eBay that day decided, oh, this will be a good one to put on there. And actually, that does bring up another quick good point why you do want to check. One thing that I have noticed, I moved a few years ago, and I do tend to notice this because I changed my zip code. I've not gone through, which I probably technically should, although it doesn't make any difference. I mean, I moved a couple of miles away from where I originally lived, so it's no big deal. The shipping cost to me is still going to be the same. It's not like I moved from Rochester to California, and the shipping cost is going to be different for people. So it's just a minor change there, and my address is right in the system, et cetera, et cetera. But one thing that I will notice is that if I go and I list something, say you ask me a question on an item that I listed 5 years ago.
Right.
And I look into it and I, for whatever reason, decide, hey, you asked me a question. I'm going to put the picture of the table of contents up as well. So I do that. I change the item, put the table of contents, not relist it, but, amend it and put it up. Then later in the day when I go to sell, the first listing that I sell has a template for fixed price as opposed to, auction. It automatically defaults to fixed price. Yeah. And it automatically has my old zip code in. Okay. So that could be what ends up happening with some of your templates as well. Somebody or other, for some reason, was screwing around, and I don't mean screwing around in a bad way. They were checking some out in an old listing, made an amendment to it, and then the next item they list later in the day pulls forward the information from the last item that they touched. Yeah. So you definitely do want to take a look at that. Now, I have the quick way of doing it because, again, I see the zip code's wrong, and I say, oh, I must have defaulted from my prior one. Yeah. But it's a lot of work. It's just a lot of things you need to just check out that you don't even think twice about because we're all kind of in robot mode to start listing. And you just start listing away, but you had potentially $100 lesson. I've had any number of 35-cent to $1 lessons that I've learned. You just need to check these things out. And I can just imagine how much money you and I have thrown away throughout the years by not being diligent on these things. Yeah. It just happens. But if you take a little bit of time, which again, we try to do, but we still miss things. Yeah. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. And thank you to the subscriber that suggested we talk about this. It definitely is a problem. Do check your boxes. Always check on the first listing of the day as you tell your people. Yeah. Because if you don't catch it on the first listing and you end up, this is always fun too. You don't catch it on the first listing. You catch it on the 15th listing. Guess what you're doing now?
Revising.
14 listings.
Yeah.
So, it's a little easier than it used to be because you can revise in bulk a lot of times, et cetera, et cetera.
Certain stuff, yeah.
But still, it's work and time wasted that doesn't need to be wasted if you just pay attention in the first place.
Exactly.
So hopefully this helps you some. Do comment down below. Shout out to the subscriber who did have this idea. Subscribe if you haven't already. We do listen to your comments. We do answer your comments. We do take your ideas. We've got a few other subscriber ideas here that we need to get to when time comes, as we can find. So we definitely do take everything seriously that you tell us, and we do work with it, and we do definitely appreciate it. The channel's nothing without you, and we shall see you next video.
Take care. Bye-bye.